modern aspirations and values? And are we seen as backwards if you go back to tradition and set the goals of our forefathers, for instance?
The question is, the first thing we need to understand is the demonization of our tradition. Most of the times, you see, I think sometimes when we talk about colonization, it's not because we want to dwell in the past, but we cannot forge ahead without looking at where we are coming from.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a particular proverb in Yoruba that says, "Tomode ba subu awuwaju, tagba ba subu aweyin," that when a child fell, the first thing a child will do is to look at the front. You understand? But when an elderly person fall down, he will look at the back. First off, we look at whether something is chasing him or what happened to him. You understand? We need to look at the back for us to look ahead.
Right.
Now, talk about education, our educational system. What kind of education do we have in Africa?
It is one that was structured by our colonial...
So you see, and they say anything that is not written is not existing. Everything about, when you say our educational system, I don't even call it education, I call it indoctrination. We have been indoctrinated through our educational system. So they've get into our head everything about our continent. It is looking like if it's demonized. So that is why I said, but I will not continue to talk about problems, because I believe Razep Africa, the reason why this particular platform is set aside is to look for ways to address some of the seeming challenges that is confronting Africa. The first thing I would like us to do is to restructure our education in Africa, because we cannot move forward as a people without, first of all, knowing who we are as a people.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
Okay, when I was growing up, I think in my secondary school days, I have some study about the Yorubas. You understand? Yoruba is part of my subject. So I remember some of us in that class, some of us have F9 in Yoruba. You understand? Because
even though you're Yoruba.
Even though we are Yorubas, and we see our Yoruba teacher like a Babalawo. And when they call somebody a Babalawo, people look at that person like someone that is going to hell. When you talk about Ifa, you understand? This is our educational system. Right. Everybody have it across Africa. Right. I'm talking based on as a Yoruba person. When you go to Akwa Ibom, when you go to the Cross River, when you go to Warri, I've been to Ishekiri. When you see rich culture, if you see some people in the river trying to appease the water, you look at them with some kind of disgust, like these are demonic people. So the first thing we need to understand is to restructure our education. Right. Our educational system in Africa needs to be restructured, not a colonial repackaging that was given to us, handed over to us, and we continue to live. And the same thing is what our children are. So you see that first thing you mentioned when we start talking about the erosion of African legacy, erosion of Pan-Africanism. If we don't want if we don't want that erosion of Pan-Africanism to stay, then our education must be restructured. Now, before I go far, you see the war that is going on. I just want to digress a bit. When you talk about invention, do we have anything called invention in Africa? If they want to, if we are being threatened. If we are being threatened, so everything about us is theory, no practical. So our educational system must be restructured if we must have a working Africa. So everything fall into that education. Because the reason why you are like this, the reason why you can talk about Africa is because of some education. You have deviated from what you study in school.
Absolutely.
So what you are talking about is because you have understudied. Who am I as an African person? Who is Joy? Okay, they give me Joy. Okay, let's say I love the surname Asoyen. Who is Asoyen? You have had some kind of background checking. Right. So it's now reawakening. The reawakening is like bringing out the African in you.
Yeah.
You know, they say black is not a color, it's an attitude. Black is beyond a color. When they say